My assumption in having this training slot for you guys is that lead generation is not your biggest challenge in your agency, because like for me, when I think about quick mail, like that's the problem that it solves. Right within my personal story, within 2 to 3 weeks of signing up for quick mail, I was booking 3 to 5 appointments per day with outbound. And I've been a customer of quick mail, and I wouldn't even say customer, little slash there, strike through, an advocate since 2016, literally sending hundreds and hundreds of agencies that I work with flocking to use quick mail. So a little bit about myself. I've been building agencies, working in the agency space like you guys since 2008. I've had the pleasure of working with a ton of like small mom and pop companies, as well as some of the top 500 internet retailers. And those are like all the big e-commerce companies. You'll probably recognize a few down there at the bottom of the screen. I've had the pleasure of working with and being mentioned and working with companies like Moz and Lead Pages and the BBC and Fit Body Bootcamp. And my last marketing agency, I grew to $170,000 a month before exiting last December. And we're going to be talking today specifically about the agency that I had before that, where we grew from zero to $83,000 a month, just over $1 million annual recurring run rate in just 4 months. And now today, I'm really focused on solving agency problems that I've seen exist in our bubble, in our agency world for over a decade. And we'll talk about that at the very end. So today, in the time we got together, the 30 total minutes, we're now down to 28. I really want to share kind of my aha moments from growing an agency so quickly. And I want to share with you the perspective, the two top perspectives that I think I can really give to you guys and impart on you guys to be able to look at your business in the right way. Michael Gerber talks about how there's different views and different systems inside your business. You got like the technician, and you got the manager, and you got like the entrepreneur or the investor. And I really want to share with you guys some viewpoints, some vantage points on how to look at your business so you can look at it through those different lenses and be able to make decisions on how you're going to move in your business quicker. As business owners, we have crazy, as entrepreneurs, we have crazy decision fatigue, right? We're making decisions all day, every day. And one thing I want to impart upon you guys is to give you guys the data to be able to make decisions faster so you can fatigue less. All right. So I really want to share really two systems or two key ways, two key vantage points that I really use to scale my $1 million agency in just 4 months. All right. So first off, we're going to talk about what to track. And I'm really going to talk about 5 KPIs. And these KPIs, some of them are talked about, but most of them aren't. And what I found is there's a lot of different KPI or key performance indicators that you can use to track your business. But these are really the 5 that I boil it down to that help me keep everything together without things spiraling out of control. When you go from 0 to 100 grand a month in an agency, things can get nuts really fast. I was pulling out my hair, and these 5 KPIs really helped me pull back everything together and really move past the decision fatigue and make decisions quickly. Next up is I'm going to talk about fixing my onboarding. Look, at the end of the day, like after sales, you have fulfillment, you have onboarding, and you have retention. And I believe that no agency coaches really talk about how important onboarding is. Right? Onboarding and setting proper expectations and building the relationship with the client is the key to building a successful business, right? Because if you're customers or clients canceling just as fast as you're onboarding them in terms of sales, you got a business that's not growing, right? And it's just churning, right? And we all know as marketing agencies, all the work is upfront. There's so much time investment between customer relationships and setting up all the automations and setting up all the work. If you can't keep a client long-term, you're losing money, right? And your team, you're putting an amazing amount of stress on your team. So I want to talk to you guys about how really I fixed my onboarding, and this really fixed almost all of my quote unquote non-sales issues, right? So it fixed my retention, it fixed my customer satisfaction, and it also helped internally my teammates be a lot happier as well working inside of the business. So let's go ahead and kick it off. All right. So we all think about funnels these days, right? We think about click funnels and the marketing funnel. I want you to think about your funnel, even if you don't have an actual funnel, as a funnel though. I want you to think about it in these stages. Awareness. So awareness is everybody in your market that you're cold emailing, for example. Then the next stage is that they get an email from you, and then hopefully they book what we call a consult or a demo, whatever that sales meeting, that first strategic meeting is. We call that a consult set. The next KPI then, or next stage in the funnel, is a consult hold. And by hold, what I mean is they show up to the appointment, to the Zoom meeting, to the GoToWebinar meeting, whatever medium you're using, and they stay and they actually let you pitch them. Right? And this is key. They let you pitch them. They don't get to the end of it and then they're like, oh, sorry, got to go. Right? That's not a consult hold. They don't get on it and they're in the middle of a job. Right? You're working with contractors and they're literally on the job site and they're like, yeah, I think I got 5 minutes here. You can't run an effective demo or what we call a consult or a sales presentation in that amount of time. And then last is your closes. Okay, so how many of your consult holds did you actually close? Okay, and really those three stats are the big ones. Okay, and it's not just good enough to just have a funnel or to think of your business like a funnel, but you really have to track your numbers. Okay, and you need to know your funnel numbers. Look, every time you get hit with a problem, or as I like to call them, opportunities in your business, you need to be able to have data to help you make a decision quickly. If you are always having to take 2-3 days to solve a problem, trust me, you're going to get worn out as an entrepreneur. You need to be able to make decisions quickly. And in order to do that, you need to have the data to make the decisions quickly. Otherwise, you're going to fatigue. Look, being an entrepreneur, right, is a journey, right? And you're going to be hit with a ton of problems. And I think that it's imperative that you look at every one of those problems as an opportunity. Because again, you're going to get hit with them a million times along your journey. So you might as well welcome them and be excited about solving them, or I promise you, your journey is going to be much harder than it has to be. Welcome those, embrace those, and they give you the opportunity to double, triple, 10x your business. So take those opportunities in strides, right? So the next thing that we want to start tracking is obviously, so we got consult sets, consult holds, and then closes. Okay. One thing I see way too many agencies and their sales reps doing is giving up or moving on before they've even had enough awareness, enough consult sets, and enough consult holds to have a close. So you need to be able to model and show your sales team how many people do we need to go through each stage of the funnel before we expect a sale to come out the other side. Right? Everybody gets blinded and all that they think about the sale, right? They obsess about the sale. They obsess about what I call it, or everybody calls the trailing indicator, right? The sale hasn't come through yet. The sale hasn't come through yet, but they don't pay attention to the leading indicators. Okay. They don't really view their sales process as this funnel, so to speak. So make sure as you go through your sales training and you're bringing on new appointment setters or SDRs or people to help you run quick mail or actual salespeople, that you share with them what your current sales funnel performance looks like. Okay. And share with them what the expected KPI is. And you can help your team really push through the dips and the valleys. Okay, as a manager then, or as an entrepreneur, you should be tracking your stats as a whole, right? So you know across the entire company, if you got multiple setters, multiple closers, you know the stats as an average across everybody, but you should also break it out by individuals. So this is critical because this is going to allow you to find who's the best and who's the worst at different things, right? Who's the best at getting people to show up to the sales calls? Who's the worst? Right? Who's the best to close? Who's the worst? And this will allow you to really cross-train your team and pull out what are the things that Jeremy's doing that's getting everybody to show up for the sales call. Okay, and then what are the things that Christian's doing that's helping him close twice as effectively as Jeremy? Okay. And so these things are absolutely critical. Okay. As I said, when you can track your numbers, you can easily course correct and you instantly know where you need to focus. Okay. But you want to standardize your vocabulary across the organization so you guys can talk the same talk. Okay. So the next things that we want to start to track what these are, how revenue tracks back through these numbers. Okay. So the way that we do that is we start tracking what our hold rate is and what our close rate is, right? So hold rate is just what percentage of the consults that were booked actually show up and are there for the whole presentation, right? Are giving you their attention. And then the close rate is just how many of those that held, right, actually close into actual revenue. How many of them you actually get revenue through the door? Okay. Once you have that, you can then take your average customer value. Let's say in this example, it's $1,916 per month. We'll talk about that number a little bit more in a second. But then what you want to do is you want to track that number back. So if at the end of the funnel, at the very bottom, a close is worth $1,916, let's step back. How much is a hold worth then? If you know the close rate, you can calculate for every hold that your sales team gets you, for every hold that you get using quick mail, right? What is that worth? Okay, $536 a month. Okay, then we'll work it back again. Now, how much is each set worth? Each appointment, each consult set worth in your business? $252 per month. So when you know this, when you start tracking your revenue per hold and your revenue per set, you're able to solve problems very quickly. When your salesperson comes to you and says, I need a raise. Hey, Joe, I think that we should go try out this new software. It's going to cost us 20% more, but it's going to get us, I think, 10 or 20% more results. You have data to work with now. When your closer says, I don't have enough appointments right now, I need you to get me more, right? And now you got to go create a new budget to go hire setters, right? Or to ramp up your cold email. Now you have a budget to do it with. So these numbers, right? Consult sets, consult holds, your close, but then also, again, your revenue per hold and revenue per set are really the things that allowed me to go from 0 to $1 million a year run rate in just 4 months. Somebody asked a really good question before we started the call today about how do you budget, right? How do you budget for the fulfillment side and the sales side of your business? So I'll tell you what I did to take all the stress and simplicity and to take all the stress and craziness out is I just worked these numbers backwards, right? So I was willing to spend, right, month 1 of a client's account to bring them on board. So if I'm paying, or if my average customer is $1,916 a month, I was willing to pay $1,916 to get a customer. Okay, that meant that I was profitable after month 1. Okay, it also meant that I could cash flow, right, with credit cards and lines of credit, that growth as well. And cash flow becomes huge when you're trying to grow this quickly, right? I don't know about you guys, but I didn't have, 100 grand to put in for commission, right? I had to make that money from within the business. Okay, so if you can cash flow the payments, meaning you bring on a customer today, make sure that you can take that money, you can pay your sales team and you can pay your fulfillment team, okay, without having to get a loan or a line of credit. So when I really started embracing these funnel numbers, these 5 KPIs, my business took off. Okay, and one of the ways that we did it was with commission-only salespeople. Okay, and the way that I was able to grow and scale so quickly is because, again, I was willing to pay them more than anybody else in the space, $1,916 a sale, and we knew our numbers backwards and forwards. We could set a brand new salesperson in the driver's seat, give them our systems, give them our processes, and they would be making sales immediately week 1. Right? So the opportunity for them was really, really clear. So I talked about how quickly we were able to start using quick mail and get really, really good, quick results. I want to show you guys how this panned out for me. We went from doing 5 sets per day, right? 5 appointment sets per day, at roughly 5 days per week. I don't really count the weekends because for me, I don't really send many emails on the weekends. The businesses I work with are businesses that are closed on the weekends and don't really respond, right? So we average 25 consults per week. Out of that, we would average about 11 holds, meaning people that would actually show up to the sales call, would actually listen to our salesperson's pitch, and they like literally had the pitch laid out for them word for word, right? They go through the slide, next slide, say this, next slide, say this. And worst case scenario, we would close at 15%. Okay, we had people in that business closing at 30, but a brand new sales rep, even if they sucked really, really bad, would close at 15%, which means just from those 5 sets per day, we end up at the end of the week with just over a sale and a half, right? So you multiply that for the month, and we're looking at roughly 6, 7 closes from those 5 sets per day with quick mail. Okay, now what really starts to get fun is when you start to look at the actual money, right? When you start to roll in what is your average customer value, right? Meant that we are essentially gaining about $2,000 per month every single week was our growth rate. Okay, so once we started to really get a handle on these numbers and I started tracking everything, it became really clear on what we have to do to sell more, right? We started giving away the first month to acquire the customer. And I just said, how fast can we do this? Right? That's it. There is no secret. It's just how fast can we give away this money and how fast can we do it without breaking our onboarding and fulfillment team? So these are really the 5 funnel KPIs that I'd suggest you guys become obsessed with. And for the sake of time, I'm going to get into the next section. To be honest, this was great. We started scaling really, really, really fast, but it was short-lived. About 30 days later, I ran into a bigger problem. And again, the way that I think about problems is opportunities, right? Every time you have a problem, there's an opportunity. Customers I found were churning about as fast as we had sold them. Okay, so we were bringing on about a sale a week, and I was losing about a sale a week out the other side. It was like a hamster wheel. And it was killing my team, right? On multiple onboarding calls with every client, getting them up to speed, getting them set. And as soon as we started delivering our fulfillment, the client would cancel. And ultimately, we ended up fixing it with onboarding. And at the end of the day, look, like I've seen a lot of agencies. If the customer is upset with your results or your fulfillment, it's an onboarding problem. If the customer cancels, it's an onboarding problem. If the customer is upset that a sales rep oversold the service, which is going to happen all the time, right? They promised something that wasn't true, right? It's a sales problem by all means, but we're going to fix it and do damage control and reset expectations in onboarding. If the customer lifetime value is too low, it just means that they canceled too early, right? Which means it's an onboarding problem. So fixing your onboarding is something that I don't see anybody in the marketplace that coaches agencies really talking about, but it's so important. And when Jeremy asked me to do this presentation, I thought, man, like we got to talk about this. And the fact of the matter is you have to use that onboarding call as like a major reset, a reset of expectations. And the way that we handle it is we get the client to come up with their big, lofty goal, right? That some people call the BHAG goal, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal. It's like in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months from now, where do you want to be, right? And we get them to paint that picture. Then we get them to come back to reality, right? What's the small short-term goal? And we're always looking to underpromise and overdeliver every single time. So we want to make sure that we can hit a goal or we can get them to paint a goal that we can actually hit. If not, we're not going to onboard them, meaning we're not going to take the sale because we know that they're going to churn in 90 days. And we know that we've actually lost money on that deal then. If we can't retain longer than 3 months, we're going to lose money. Why? Because I said we paid month one, right? In order to get the client, we pay all of that out to the sales team, $1,916. And the next 2 months, we're going to spend the majority of that money on fulfillment. Why? In order to keep the client happy and to get the results that we're promising. So we're betting the farm that they're going to stick in month 4. If we're sitting on an onboarding call with them and we're not confident that they're going to stick after month 4, there's no way that we're going to onboard them. Why? Because I'd just be killing my team. Does that make sense to everybody? Could I get a 1 in the chat or something? Does that resonate? Cool. So when we do the reset of the expectations, again, we're painting the big goal, then we're drawing it back to the small short-term goal. And our goal in that meeting is to plan a 90-day target. And so we're saying, hey, if we could get you here in 90 days, we can't promise the world. We got to do something that we can deliver. We need to know, though, that you're going to be happy with the results, right? If we can hit this specific goal, would you then be willing to stick long-term with us on this project? And usually that metric is about paying for ourselves, right? Is ultimately what most clients bring it back to. So if they basically, most of them, no matter what you're selling, say, yeah, if within 90 days, basically you can get me some return on investment where you're paying for yourself, I'll keep you on board. That's what we found is the magic key. So if we can get them to tell us what that is, right, then we aim for that in our 90 days. So let's talk about the anatomy of a great onboarding call. Really, at the end of the day, it's all relationship. Whoever is running your onboarding calls should be the best person ever at building relationships. They're the person like you meet at a party and you just instantly like, this person's my best friend and I'd never want to disappoint them. That's the positioning you need to have with the person running the onboarding call and the account management. Next, you need to, again, as we talked about, reset expectations of the results. Don't let the sales reps' expectations of the results set your client's expectations. Or don't let your customer just dream it up themselves, because if your sales rep didn't set the right expectation, right, I promise you that the customer certainly didn't set the right expectation in their own mind either. So again, we want to start with the big goal. And the way that we do that is by asking this question. You can steal this verbiage, you can steal this language. Hey, Mr. Customer, in 18 to 24 months, if we look back on today, this exact onboarding call and our relationship was a huge success, a blockbuster success. What would have had to have happened from a result standpoint for this relationship to be successful? Right? And then we're going to get the big goal. And then we're going to pull it back. We're going to rein it back into a small short-term goal. So we're going to rein back in their big, hairy, audacious goal from, we're paying you $2,000 a month and we want you to bring in millions, to, hey, we need you to get a return on investment in 90 days. So then we get their buy-in. So this is really important. So we tell the customer that we want to find a target, a goal that we can hit in 3 months. We know that we need to, that they need a long-term solution. We're looking for long-term relationships, but they're trying to make sure that we got the goods and they're trying to avert risk. So Mr. Customer, if I can at least pay for myself in 90 days and show you the path, or we're going to scale this to hit the goals that you just said, will you consider staying on and working with me long-term? Right? So everybody that I found that we've worked with from an agency standpoint feels like they haven't found the right agency or the right relationship for them yet to be their partner, to be their growth partner. And so my ask is always simple. Will you consider me if I can hit the metrics, right, that we're saying here in this meeting? And I get the buy-in right then and there. And the reason I get that buy-in is my contract matches up to that. So guys, this is where the rubber hits the road. This exploded my $1 million a year agency This fixed my retention problem. And I know it will for you guys too. I'm going to give you guys my contract, right? It's called my 90-day out contract. You can get it at digitaltriggers.io/90-day out contract. But this is the key. Between days 75 and day 90 of the contract, they can cancel, no problem. Otherwise, they're locked into a 12-month auto-renewing every year contract. This took me from struggling every month to collect and my retention being 3 to 4 months to immediately my retention every single month being able to collect. But then in this contract as well, there's also an auto renewing every year, auto renewal policy. And I explained this to my customers as well. Look, we've had clients that have actually failed to renew with us. We got a great result they got busy, we got busy. And for 6 months, we didn't provide services. Guess what happened to their business? Right? They started tanking. I don't want that to happen. I'll give you a chance to cancel. Here's how it's laid out in the contract. Otherwise, we need to keep doing business as usual, right? Right. So this 90-day out contract I wanted to share with you guys because this has made all the difference in scaling my businesses. So Jeremy, I'm 3 minutes early, buddy.
There you go. Christian preventing me from unmuting myself. I can't believe it. Come on, Christian. Yeah, I think you can stop sharing. This is brilliant, Joe. So much good things. Here's my personal text. I love the way that you have this 90-day mindset, like trying to align your expectation with the client expectation. I mean, that was brilliant. One question I had for, and that's being selfish in a sense because no one asked this question, but I'm sure plenty of people who watch this video also have the same questions. Why didn't you align the incentive of the salespeople to more than 90 days, which is like, for example, you get, I don't know, 20% of the next 3 months beyond month 3 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So I found that sales guys need to see big money quickly without a base pay or they're going to disappear. Right. And it's also hard, like, one sale being $1,916 in commissions to them means every deal is make or break, right? Every deal is party time or it's back on the phones time. And I want them back on the phones immediately. So I like my sales reps sinking or swimming, not in a bad way, but I want them emotional every day to get the next sale.
Yeah. Understand that for the, sort of, what are you going to say? Hold on. I just lost my idea. This happens sometimes, like a bug. Hold on. My system is rebooting.
I found as well that
how do you align them? Like, in a sense, like, if you have like a lot of people who overpromise, like, what do you do? Like, do you do like a sort of like, hey man, sorry, the sale doesn't go through because you overpromise? Like, how does that actually go?
Yeah, so the only time that we would not give the sales rep commission for a sale is if we didn't make the sale, right? So if onboarding rejected it because they couldn't reset expectations, they couldn't come up with that middle ground, they couldn't save the deal, right? That's the only time that we would never obviously pay commission because we didn't retain them.
Did that happen a lot, like in reality?
When we first started, it did. It took us probably about 2 weeks to really shake that out, right? And that was a problem. That was an opportunity that we just had to deal with and work on really scripting out that call. When we first started, it was like, we weren't leading with that big, hairy, audacious goal. And we were just like, what do we have to do in order to keep your business? And it just wasn't working. Like, we were just running into a brick wall. Yeah. But by allowing the customer to get on there and kind of vent and paint the beautiful picture, somehow it made it easier for us to step backwards and zoom that back and say, all right, great, but that's not possible in the next 60, 90 days. What can I show you that makes you confident that you picked the right person? And that really allowed us to be on the same playing field and to have a good conversation that led to a commitment.
All right. Sounds good. One last question from me, and I promise then we'll go into everyone. If everyone can just ask question in the chat, if you think like we got a lot of questions, but if you think like there is a pressing question, go ask it in the chat. For your salespeople, did you had any problem with like asking them to follow a script? Like if obviously you put a lot of results on them, don't they actually come back and say, hey man, the script doesn't work for me, or like they'd like to change it, like, hey, you're nice with giving me a script, but this is how I roll? And did that happen, or you had to find some people or whatever?
Sure, of course that happened. What's interesting though is the players, the people that got paid the most money, the people that made the most sales, even the people that actually sold with quality, and that's a term that we use, meaning we had good onboards, they didn't oversell it, they set the right expectations, they built a good relationship, they followed the script. And so one of the things that we learned is that we needed to be asking if during the hiring process for the salespeople, if they thought scripts were useful. And what we found is that the mindset that scripts are useful is actually really important, and is a distinction, is a differentiator of the good salespeople from the bad, right? The good people want something to lean on that's already worked. And then from there, they're going to tweak and they're going to change in order to suit them. But a good salesperson doesn't want to start from scratch.
Yeah,
right?
and that's why you actually
script.
And this is why you actually came up with those numbers and say, hey, Joe is closing at 20% better. Then let's chat and see what happens, right? Love it.
100%.
Okay, freaking love it. If you can stop sharing so we can see your beautiful face. And I'm going to go and ask a few questions. Bear with me. I'm terrible at reading. I'm going to ask some of the questions that Christian put into the Ask Live. All right, so here's one. Did Joe mention how he got his first clients and how he first expanded his agency? Was it like purely with cold outreach, like cold email?
When I first started my agency, it was all grassroots. It was boots on the street, so to speak. And it was referrals. Essentially cold calling, but just showing up in person to businesses, associates of people that I knew, hey, I knew this guy that was a chiropractor, and I get, introductions for him. I go to all the networking meetings. I didn't know how to grow, right? And so it was just like, how do I get in front of my audience? And any way that I could, I did. And I wasn't smart. I didn't know how to do cold email. I didn't know any of the prospecting methods, and all the technology that we have today. Like, it didn't exist in 2005, 2006, 2007, and 8 when I got started.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we got a question from Shante, actually 2, but I think they're both good. How many pages were your slide deck that you give to your sales rep? Like, was it like 1-2 page? Was it like 60 page? Like, did you have like a good size, or did that evolve a lot, kind of thing? And the second question is, where did you find those sales reps, the one who could actually deliver on your, your sales script? Christian, did you mute Joe? How dare you, man? Christian, come on.
Yeah.
There you go.
So great question. So the slide was about a dozen slides. Really it wasn't so much about the slide deck. Slide deck was more a visual representation, or earmarks of like chapters of the script, if you will. Right. So it's like, when we move to a pricing slide. It wasn't that like the presentation was like amazing, right? It was just more that for the visual learners, that there was something to pay attention to. And here's one thing, one tip for you guys is, when you're setting appointments, ask the person if they're going to be in front of a computer. Do you guys have that in your scripts? Right. The reason that you ask them that is like, that they're not going to be like calling in on a cell phone on the job, or, going to get interrupted 30 times. They can pay attention. So the presentation was only about a dozen slides. Your other question was, where did we hire sales reps? Good question. Yeah. So we really had two key positions in this business in this 4-month period where we just went bonkers. And it was SDRs, or sales development reps, right? and closers. Okay, so SDRs were all outsourced. We had, I believe at that time, all of them came from Upwork.
Nice.
And we're from all over. You got to remember this, the time frame of this is back a couple of years. So we had people in Pakistan and the Philippines, which were SDRs, mostly Pakistan and Philippines, some in Brazil. And they were just replying to appointments all day and inbound inquiries that we had. And then the closers were all from Indeed.
Makes sense.
So,
Just a quick follow-up question on this one, like for the people from Upwork, did you also incentivize them, like how many appointment you do, then you get like a sort of bonus, or like only on appointment set or any other thing like that?
So we found that we found some setters that weren't being honest with their stats, and we weren't doing the best tracking that and keeping on top of it. And what we started to notice was that the hold rate was really, really bad by the sets that the appointment setters were getting. Right. So we would like link to Calendly before Calendly was a big deal and just have people automatically go into Calendly and book right away. And those sets were a lot higher than the people responded with like, hey, yeah, 5 p.m. works. We'd ask them, the SDR, to actually then go put it in manually or to follow up. But what we noticed is that the ones that were manually set up instead of through Calendly, the hold rate, meaning the people that actually showed up, was a lot less. And so what we found, and it's like, why is this? And what we found is that a lot of people that really didn't want to book an appointment were, and that a lot of, I don't know, trickery was happening behind the scenes, maybe some dishonesty. And from a management standpoint, we weren't tracking it the best. And so we just found that it was leading to activity in the business that we didn't want. We didn't want people to be dishonest with us. We didn't want to have to implement a position to manage and track all of it. And so what we started doing instead is just paying for people that showed up, right?
Nice.
So we had a little kicker, a little incentive to the SDRs for people that showed up. And then another kicker for calls that actually got closed for the SDRs.
Lovely. Love it. All right. So we got a question. 3 people are interested in with this question. It's Nonopa. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Please talk more about outsourcing. How did you outsource the work for your agency, and how do you vet the people you outsource?
Perfect. So I think that one of the things as an entrepreneur, as an agency owner, that you have to get really good at is hiring, training, onboarding, firing. No matter what kind of agency you've built, whether you're going to quote unquote outsource the fulfillment, you still got lots of other positions and roles to fill. I don't think that there's any way to get away from those positions. You got to become good at that, and you got to embrace that. So for me, I look at onboarding and hiring and training like a sports team, right? Like I want to always have a virtual bench of people to turn to, right? That are the best, that are like all in class to fill my team's roster, right? And so if I'm going to need SDRs, if I'm going to need salespeople, if I'm going to need an account representative, and I'm going to need, one other title that's going to do fulfillment, I want to always be recruiting for those positions all the time, every day. And I'll either make room for those people on the team, or I'm going to keep them warm and keep in contact with them, and when that role does become open and or available. Okay, but I always want to have backups. As an agency owner, nothing's worse than a key player of your team coming to you and saying, Joe, I need to leave, and you having to figure out an exit plan to get them off the bus and to go find somebody else. And the sheer panic of, I got to find somebody that's really good or my business is going to tank, right? Or potentially even worse than that, like you and let's say your right hand, your CEO, or whoever's doing most of the fulfillment on your team saying, that guy over there, Bob, he's bringing in all the sales and he sucks really bad and he needs to go. And you having the conversation like, yeah, I know Bob needs to leave. We need to fire him, but we can't. If you're having that conversation, we can't, we have to wait until, we need to find somebody else, it's already too late. And that guy should have been gone 30 days ago. So like, you never want to be held ransom in your business. So that comes down to being really active and proactive on the hiring and the recruiting side.
Got it. Hey, good to see you, Christopher. Love see young face. Nice, man. We should catch up. Good question from Christopher. Can we quickly verbally describe your call email messaging? Is it like 4 emails, calls in between emails? Like, how do you actually organize a sort of like outreach process?
Perfect. So outreach for me, I always think of setting up in an evergreen way, I think is the first principle. A lot of people like do a lot of blasting. Like they send out as many emails as possible, as fast as possible.
Pray and pray.
Yeah, it's like a freaking shotgun, 20 gauge, boom, oh man, it didn't work. So for me,
nothing stick. What's going on?
Yeah, nothing sticks. It's not working. What's happening, man? For me, I want an evergreen sales channel because I need appointments every day and I need it long term. That shotgun spray of 40 appointments, 50 appointments in a day, I can't handle, right? And I don't have a business that can handle it. Okay. Even when I was, scaling to 7 figures that quickly, like an explosion like that would have killed me. And so if it's going to kill me at that level of building the business, it's definitely going to kill you just starting out. So instead, like, I think about it as like that slow and steady drip of appointments every single day. So I'm looking for a system that can bring me those appointments and really leverage that over time. So I, the business owner, and also the strategist, which I'm sure most of you guys are also the strategist, can walk away from that piece once it's working. So you can actually go work on the other parts. Because here's the thing, like, it's going to stop working at some point. And what I mean by that is like either the message is going to wear out, the market sophistication is gotten to the point where your message doesn't work anymore, or you're going to get to the end of your list. So then what's going to happen? Like your brain's going to be needed again, and you're going to have to go, start working on it again, go tweak it, play with the copy, get it working again. So for me, everything is about is about testing the messaging and finding out what resonates and getting it to the point where we can scale it and I can walk away so I can go focus on the other pieces inside the business. The structure for me is typically 3 to 4 part email sequence, 2 to 3 days apart for each one. And then we call after somebody opens 3+ times.
Got it. Did you have any support on your website, like support video or any material that helped you also get people book calls or anything?
Good question.
It's from Chris,
our
it's not from me.
Our website, when we did this, probably dispels every myth out there. We had no marketing website. We had my LinkedIn, and we had a Calendly link, and that was it. We hit a $1 million run rate before we had a website.
So just to answer Bruce's question, you basically equate opens in quick mail as awareness, right? To actually go and then do the call later. Got it. All right, so we're coming down to the list. Willie is asking, so if you can just answer briefly, how did you do your fulfillment?
I guess, what do you mean by that? It's kind of a broad question.
How did you actually just deliver on what you're saying you're going to give, right? I think that's more or less like a very general, broad questions and may actually change per agency. But for you, how was it like? How did you actually go and do that?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe that could be a good hook, maybe to answer actually at the end, like, how can we know more about you, what you're doing, and an offering? Maybe that could be, right?
Yeah. Here, like at the end of the day, I think if you're a generalist and you're working with lots of different clients and you're fulfilling, doing lots of things, right? If your client's coming to you and they're telling you this is what I need, and you're just delivering on whatever they need, right? You're jumping from all these different deliverables, that there's no way that you'd be able to do this without killing yourself. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, you'd just be jumping all over. You'd have no standard deliverable. How could you sell an expected result? How could you know that your team's going to get it? So I think the big thing in terms of like, how do you actually nail fulfillment comes down to who do you serve and really niching down. What's the service that you provide and niching down, having SOPs, and being able to get enough clients through the door that you know the expected result that's going to come out the other side, right? Like without doing that, I don't think you're like in a position, honestly, to scale. You can't do your sales team justice. You're not going to be able to pay them enough. Like it's going to be hard to do outreach as well and offer value and have people raise their hand and want to jump on a call with you if you're not an expert, I believe.
Freaking love
Especially these days. Cold email is very different than what it was in 2016 when I first started talking with you, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, it was like, Far West, right? You could send anything, people just reply, oh, thank you for sending me an email. Oh man, good times. Good question from Aaron. He's in a niche audience. He can only dream of 5 meetings a day. So it's more like 5 per week, mostly. Any thoughts on, only thought of very personal emails. Mass email are quite difficult to experience. Even, what's the question here?
What industry it was in?
Oh yeah, what industry were you targeting? I basically just skip that.
Home services types of verticals, contractors, basically.
Unit. I guess the answer is yes, but it's the same. Your same concept applied to a lot of different industries, right?
I mean, so we started going after 4 industries, and by the end we were down to 2 that we liked working with the best. And so we went a little broader to start, but we also had like expected results that we knew that we could hit for all 4 within 90 days, like so that we could actually retain customers and have a good sales pitch.
Got it. Okay, quick questions. Let's try to fire on, rapid fire type of answer so we can finish on time, and then you got some time as well to, let us know about your offer and how we can know more about you. We got Tony. Do you have an example of a sales presentation script that you could share with us? Is that something that we can arrange, you and I, Joe?
Sure.
Cool.
Happy
well,
to.
You got it, Tony. It's a yes. Maybe Christian, if you can make a note and let's try to get it along with the recording, that'd be awesome. Grant, good question. Who did you hire first, Joe? Sales or fulfillment? And at what point did you start outsourcing? Straight from the beginning or later on?
Yeah, fulfillment for me came first because this business was all about scale and scale fast, right? I had bought, built, sold multiple agencies in the past. I knew fulfillment. I'm good at fulfillment. I'm also good at the sales and marketing side in terms of knowing what's going to make a customer buy or be interested. And so for me, we started with just a couple of, I would say, technicians kind of doing fulfillment. I built out the SOPs. It took me about a month. We started onboarding and training and having people test on the fulfillment side and getting them up to speed. And so fulfillment came before sales, the old chicken or the egg question.
Yeah, I agree with that one. All right, last question from Tony. When you had no website, what kind of content details did you put about your agency did you put on your LinkedIn profile, or did you architecture it a certain way, or you just normal stuff?
To be honest, just normal stuff. I put the company, I put the start date, right? So you could see that it wasn't just a brand new overnight startup. They saw that I had other companies though, I think as well. It wasn't like it was blank besides just the new company. It also was real, right? You could see that I was a real person. I wasn't brand new to LinkedIn. It was the only thing of authority that I had. right? Like, and so don't put your LinkedIn profile if it's all that you got. If your Facebook is 10 times better and you got a ton of friends and recommendations and endorsements and testimonials and stuff on there, then use that. My strongest social standing was just LinkedIn, right? And if you guys go to my LinkedIn, like you'll see, I have a boatload of recommendations and I've hit my friend max, and right, it was just the only social proof piece that I had that I could stand on without having to build a website.
Yeah, I love your pragmatic approach, which is like, hey, if Facebook is better for your Twitter account or whatever, then just use that. Brilliant. Okay, I think we'll stop it here, guys. At some point, we have to stop it. Thank you so much for asking all the questions. Joe, before we go into, sort of like a pitch, and we're also going to draw a winner for giveaway, is there any books that actually were very inspirational to you? Some book that really made an impact and that really impacted positively your business, and obviously positively, like negatively, like doesn't make sense, does it?
100%. 100%. I'm going to answer your one book request with two books.
Nice.
But then,
well, it's multiple. Any books, really, honestly, go for it.
Okay. So any books. So these two really go along the same vein and talk about the same thing, but in very, very different ways. So the first one is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And the second is Deep Work by Cal Newport. So in Road Less Stupid, the big idea is like, we all make stupid decisions because like we decide so quickly and we never set aside the time to actually think through things, right? And Deep Work by Cal Newport talks about how basically we're always doing surface level things, right? We get into a project and we're in it for 5 minutes and we get interrupted, right, by somebody on Slack or an email or a phone call. And then we come back, it takes us 10 minutes to get back into it. We're in it for another 5 to 10 minutes and we get interrupted again. And his argument is like, if you look at any like Olympic level athlete, you look at NBA players, you look at anybody that's really done anything great, like truly stand out in their life, and they have periods of what he calls deep work where you're immersed. And so really, deep work has been critical for me. And now, like my day, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have multiple businesses. I have to be in deep work or I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, just putting out fires all day, and I'm not effective. I can't drive revenue. I can't, help build my team. I can't really do anything. And so my day right now is about 90% deep work because of these two books. So Deep Work and then The Road Less Stupid. And in The Road Less Stupid, you can take like every chapter is like a thinking point. So every other week, I take one of those chapters and I reread the chapter. And it's like a great mental exercise. Put me undistracted in front of the whiteboard in one of those chapters, and I'll map out a new department, a new division, a new upsell, something in my business that's going to add another zero, right? Like something big and impactful, instead of me putting out, little fires that weren't very important all day long.
Brilliant. Yeah, in fact, I have the similar hack actually. I booked all my Wednesdays. It's off. Like I have a meeting every Wednesday, repeatable every week, that says executive meeting with myself. And I remove myself from Slack. I let my team execute, and I just do like deep work as well. Brilliant. Highly recommend it. Okay, so how can we know more about you? Can you let us know a little bit about your agency, how you can help other agency owners and stuff like that? I think you got a few slides for that. If you need it.
Share my screen and share what one big problem I've been helping other marketers and agencies solve. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
So in the chat, I'll figure out how to bring back up the chat. In the chat, have you guys tried to use SEMrush or SpyFu or iSpionage or any of those competitor research tools to outreach to prospects? Let me know in the chat. There we go. There's the chat. Yeah, sometimes, yes, a bit, but not that much. No. So, no, but I've wanted to. We tried, not seriously though. So like, I've been in this space for, again, a really long time, full-time since 2008, never had a job since. We did a data study on these sites, and we analyzed 21 websites that we had access to their Google Ads account. And we found out that these 21 websites were spending $214,300 on Google Ads every month. And we found that SEMrush, SpyFu, and iSpionage were reporting 10% or less of the actual results. Does this sound similar to what you guys have seen? So it's like, I've wanted to use these tools for prospecting, but I look at the data, or I'm talking with a prospect and it's like, oh, I see you're spending $5,000 a month on ads. They're like, no, we don't use that for ads. or we spent $500 last month. What are you talking about? And so we went in and we did a big analysis of this. And like this was in the this is just one example in the niche plumbing in Las Vegas. This was our client in my last agency, Invisible PPC. They're spending $12,000 a month on Google Ads. SpyFu showed that they're spending $1,300 a month, right? SEMrush showed, I'm sorry, these images aren't coming through for some reason, $0 a month on ads, and iSpionage showed 0 as well. So we knew that there was a problem with the data quality, but we also knew that there was a problem because we wanted it as a lead source. So in wanting it as a lead source, we wanted to find all of the people in a market, in a local market, that are spending money on ads, and we wanted to be able to outreach to them using a tool like QuickMail. Makes sense, right? Let's take all the people spending the most money in the market, and Google Ads for online advertising is the most expensive, right? So hopefully it's an indicator that it's kind of the most qualified lead. So we want plentiful data and we want accurate. So if you do a Google search for Tampa plumber across the platforms that we talked about, right? SpyFu shows 4 advertisers. SEMrush shows 0 advertisers. Like seriously, plumbers in Tampa? iSpionage shows 5. And the tool that we just launched last year shows 46. So we set out to crush SpyFu, iSpionage, and SEMrush because we've seen that this problem has existed for over a decade, right? And us, like you, we're agencies. We help other agencies. This was a problem for us. And so we made it first to solve our needs, and then very quickly started sharing it with our agency friends. So we find all this data. We also find contact info. You can export it and then pull it into QuickMail. Great. But also we have a boatload of attributes or merge fields, right? That you guys can use from the data that we have pulled. So this allows us to outreach with really, really good, precise messaging that makes us stand out from the crowd, right? We saw your ad for this specific keyword phrase, let's say Tampa plumber. We also saw 23 other advertisers targeting it. Would you like some help finding some lower hanging fruit or lower competition keywords, right? So there's lots of different opportunities in here for outreach and different angles. And it doesn't matter if you don't sell Google Ads, right? It's just a way to get your foot in the door, offer some value, and start a conversation that isn't hit with, the delete button or the unsubscribe link. What's cool then is we also have white label report pages that show all the data that we pulled from the market. So it's like a snapshot of all the data that we pulled for, let's say in this case, Tampa plumber. And we asked, would you like to see the data that we pulled? Here's the summary. Here's what we've seen. And what we found is that it's so unique in the marketplace. Nobody else has this data, right? I showed you SEMrush, SpyFu, and iSpionage. They don't even have this data. So if they don't, who's going to have this data? Nobody does. And so we're finding that our agency friends that are using the tool are just crushing it with outreach. And they're doing it without ever sending a generic, no value added or spammy message. I'm assuming most of you guys will probably want it for the lead source. So getting back 47 leads instead of 3 or 4 or none is really important. You guys can check it out. It's ppcadlab.com. You'll see, like everything, mostly, the more you use it, the more you're going to pay. We got plans starting at $47 a month and going up to $397 a month.
That's very reasonable. 47
yeah,
to
so
start
super
with.
easy to get started. And it's free to try all the plans. Go in, use it, play with it, and only after you get value. You'll see on the website, all the plans are 7-day trials. You can use it, play with it, get some value. If you don't like it, cancel it. But as Quick Mail friends, and since I've known Jeremy since early 2016,
Starting to
I wanted
like
to do
it.
something special for you guys. So I cooked something up. So I'm going to give you guys the same deal that I gave all of my customers when we rolled out AdLab for the first time, and when we launched it. And so we call this the charter price plan. And so I'm going to share with you guys what that is. But know that even the website isn't completely up to date with all the features because we just rolled out V2. Okay, so we just added local service ads tracking. If you know what those are, the Google guaranteed. We also rolled out Google Shopping. So if you want to prospect to e-commerce, we also rolled out Google Organic and Maps tracking, and a bunch of other things too, which I'll share with you guys how to go see the most up-to-date info on the app. So you guys are going to actually get an even better deal because you're going to get all the V2 features for the same price as version 1, right? You don't have to wait. You get it all right now.
Joe, just to stop you right here, is it also valid for anyone who watched the webinar after, or is it just for the people live?
Yes, everybody that watches it after as well. I got
Nice.
a special code for you guys too. So this will lock you guys in, and any upgrades that we do, you guys will get the upgrades for free, right? No cost rolled into your guys' plan. Basically you're going to, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take the agency price plan and discount the price in half, knock off the price by 50%, and I'll top off your account with an additional 4,000 credits. And if that's not enough, I don't want you to even make your buying decision right now. If it sounds like it might be a fit, I want you to go use the software. I want you to go try it out. Heck, I want to get you a return on investment, and I'm going to extend the trial from 7 days to 14 days so that you guys can make your money back and then make a decision. So you guys can literally get started for free now. And I've doubled the trial, dropped the price in half on the agency plan, giving you guys all the V2 features, and giving you an extra 4,000 monthly credits. So it's ppcadlab.com/quickmail, and just make sure you use the www or it won't take you to the right place.